Hello collectors and welcome to my review of NECA's Pacific Rim Chibi figure set. This set is a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive with select Toys R Us and Hastings locations having them in stock around the time of SDCC 2015. These figures are a replica of the ones seen in the opening of Pacific Rim, and in this set we get Karloff, Romeo Blue, Hardship, Horizon Brave, and Trespasser. Quite a nice set I must say, but it retailed for $50 at the show. Considering the price and the size of these figures, is this 5-figure set actually worth it? Well, let's take a look and see whether or not it's worth adding into your collection. So, first up in the set, we have Trespasser going from left to right in the box. And as you can see, casted in a yellow plastic, and realistically speaking, there aren't a whole lot of details on this little guy. He's about 3 inches tall. But in terms of the detail, you can see that there are some teeth here, you have the eyes here, claws on the arms, including the big arms. See little ridges and folds here on the knees. You have some trademark information here on the feet. But something that should be catching your eye would definitely be the quality control. As you can see right here where my thumbnail is, there's a little crease in the plastic. And you can see some general dirty spots on Trespasser, which is kind of eh. And normally you would think, oh, that's not a big deal, something you shouldn't complain about. But it's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive and $50. Something else, minor nitpicky thing, there are mold lines here, so if you're an absolute perfectionist in that regard, just know that this set does have them. Now, surprisingly, this little guy actually has articulation. Swivel at the shoulder, which is pretty cool. So all in all, Trespasser is a neat little kaiju to have on your shelf, but if you're looking for super high quality, unfortunately this little guy does not bring it to the table. But it's a unique little toy to have. Next up in the set here we have Karloff, and as you can see there are some nice detail sculpted on this little dude. You can see the back has some details, the arm has some ridges, as is the legs, eyes, mouth, even the top of the head has detail, which is pretty cool. In terms of articulation, we have a swivel at the neck, spin it all the way around, right at the shoulders, though that would be more of a bicep to be technical, and that's about it. Again, in terms of quality, we do have those mold lines, which some will be bothered with, but in terms of sloppiness, like that grime that was on Trespasser, not finding it here on Karloff. Overall, I would have to say NECA did a really nice job here with Karloff, and I really hope we get this guy in a bigger format one day. Come on, Randy, work your magic. And in the middle of the box set, we have one of the larger Chibi figures of the set, Horizon Brave, as you can see, casted in a brown plastic with some great paint applications, such as gray here on the fingers. We have some yellow up here. We have the con pod here with the gray and yellow again. Very minimal, but surprisingly the paint application is nice. Again, mold line issues, you can see up here, and you can see on the arms, so on and so forth. Clumpiness in the paint alongside the mold line issues up here on the head of Horizon Brave. And when it comes to articulation, again, we have basic shoulder swivel, but we have something hidden on Horizon Brave, a waist swivel. How cool is that? Overall, I would say Horizon Brave is the most complicated figure of the set because of the size and the detailing added onto it, but unfortunately there are some downfalls to it. You can even see, now that I'm noticing here in the light, what appears to be glue slop. But again, these are minor issues which, if you just have them sitting on a shelf, it's not going to be a big deal. But in terms of collector pieces, it may offset some of you who need everything absolutely perfect. But I gotta be honest, I'm really liking Horizon Brave. Come at me, bro. And now for the most simplistic figure in the set, Romeo Blue. Casted in blue plastic. No decals of any kind, which, you know, movie replica, I understand that. But you'd think that the glue slop that you can see here for the front fin and on the arm wouldn't be an issue. Yeah. In terms of articulation, just have a shoulder swivel, as you can see here. Unfortunately, can't go all the way around because of the leg sculpt, specifically the thigh sculpt, because it blocks the fingers, which isn't a major issue because you're not really using these as action figures, unless that's what you want to do. But anyway, yeah, Romeo Blue is very simplistic. There's not much to be said. Aside from, with such little detail, you'd think that the minor things that could be taken care of would be taken care of. And last, but most certainly not least, we have the Kaiju Hardship, casted in a gray plastic with some brown spray here and there. Looks very nice, and there's not really any issues in terms of sloppiness with that brown spray. You can see it's exactly where it needs to be. However, there are some scuff marks here and there right out of the package. You can see a little bit of sloppiness up over here, but again, nitpicky. You can see the facial details on this guy. Looks very nice. Very pointy, smaller arms, so be careful. Don't poke yourself with that. And in terms of articulation, we just have a swivel at the shoulder, which unfortunately you can't spin all the way around because you have these smaller arms here. But you can force them past, but if you do that, just be careful that you may scuff the paint. So don't do that. Be smart. If you're going to rotate them, do them backwards, not forwards. And just for a quick note, again, for those of you who would like to see the back and the tail here, sculpted details, like I said, pretty nice. Overall, I have to say that Hardship is probably one of my favorites of the set. Now, chances are, if you're eyeing these little Chibi figures, you have other figures in your collection from various kaiju universes. So, here's a quick size comparison with some other figures you may have, so this way you know exactly how much space to clear on your shelf. First off, here's the clean deluxe knife head action figure from NECA, along with the Series 1 Gypsy Danger from NECA. This is, I guess you could say, a gold standard for what you can compare them to. Now, moving on to the Chibi Super Deformed world, here are Bandai America's Tokyo vinyl figures, so this way you can get an idea of how they scale in with some other strange figures you may have. Now, shrinking down in size, we have the 66 Action Ultra 7 and Alien Baltan. Even though these are Chibi figures, they're rather large. And here we have some Bandai Gashapon figures, Gorosaurus and the Destroyer Aggregate. Here, some Godzilla Mini-Mates. And finally, some Chibi figures from Bandai America. So, as you can see, this minifigure set does indeed include some small figures by NECA standards, but in terms of actual chibiness, these are rather large. So, buy the set, skip it, or hunt down a deal? Well, it's tough to say. This is a really nice, fantastic little set which should please the casual Pacific Rim fan. Just think, oh boy, a nice little chibi set, small with little detail, they're super cute, I want that when buying this. Because that's what seems like NECA thought the customer would be thinking when they would go to buy it. But then you factor in the SDCC rarity and the $50 plus price tag non-attendees will pay, and yeah, that simplistic mentality goes bye-bye for collectors when there are some serious flaws like gunk and paint rub on the figures before you even take them out of the package. Now, don't get me wrong here, I'm just pointing out the flaws on these guys for those who need an objective viewpoint on them. It may seem like I'm making a huge deal out of them, and to an extent they're legitimate complaints. I mean, there should be no dirt on a figure that comes straight out of the factory in the packaging. However, let me be clear, I do love this set, and even knowing what I know now, I'd still pick the set up. Perfect? Absolutely not. But flaws? They're okay. I wish there were none, but such is life, they're mass-produced. I just hope these do really well so we can get more of them for other characters. Gypsy Danger, Knifehead, Slattern. NECA did a fine enough job on this set, and if you're a fan of Pacific Rim and cutesy goodness, I gotta say get the set, but try to get it for as close to retail as you can. If you need absolute perfection on every single item, well, maybe this set won't be for you. But unfortunately, you'll be missing out on a quirky little set.